These are the best new wedges in golf. We have the Callaway Opus, the Wilson Staff Model, and well, something else entirely. A Magnum Opus is considered a great work by an artist, a composer, an actor. It's the best piece of work that they've ever produced. Callaway have named their new wedge line in this vein, which could be in itself a little vain. But hey, I kind of like it, you know. I do get a little bit bored sometimes when clubs come out and they're called the Z6 going.
The Z6 going?
You know, if they have a silly numerical name, it just gets a bit boring. So at least Callaway have really kind of put the money where their mouth may or may not be. Now, something else that I really wouldn't get bored of is people subscribing to the YouTube channel. It is free to do. You can become part of this community and push us towards 700,000 subscribers here on this platform. So the Opus and then something called the Opus Platinum, which I will get to shortly, are in my estimation Callaway's attempt to really erode the Titleist Vokey's stranglehold on that low handicap category. Now, I have the Titleist Vokeys in the bag at the moment. And this video isn't a comparison. I just want to see how these Opus wedges perform on their own merits. But the marketing material that Callaway have sent through, it is very, very clear what they are trying to do with this wedge. They really want the better player to be using the Callaway Opus. There is no doubt about that. Now, within this test, I've included these three wedges because they are new. They have something interesting to say. I can't include every wedge manufacturer in the world within a single video, although maybe that's something we should do going forward. Comment below. Wow, what a strike. Oh, and even this little tricky flop from Bermuda over a bunker, it's really good. And I've got to be honest, like, the amount of spin that you can generate from a short shot with these clubs is fantastic. So would it stand the chance of going in the bag? I mean, I can't say no. I mean, I love my Vokeys, but the Opus overall in every single category looks, feels, performs fantastic. So I think Callaway have really completed what they set out to do. Give the Vokeys a really good run for their money. So Callaway say there's more grooves on the face, and in testing this lowered the launch and added spin with more surface roughness thrown in for good measure. Callaway also say that the chrome face on a wedge is more grippy than a raw face, and I've got to be honest, I do tend to agree with that. I've not seen any evidence that a raw, rusty face produces more spin. Also, the Opus has micro angled grooves for the open face shots. Now, this is going to create a little bit more spin on the shots where you open up the face to target. Callaway also claim that the Opus spins more from the rough and in wet conditions than, you guessed it, the Vokey. And in all their material, Callaway keep on referring to this lower launch, this extra spin, and their model for comparison is the Titleist Vokey. They've even added a new grind, the T grind, to these wedges, which produces, again, a little bit more of a lower launch, targeted at the better players who really want to control their spin. If I just open up this face just a touch, get those micro grooves working. Now, when we talk about wedge grind, we're really talking about the sole of the club, the bottom, and how that interacts with the turf. Now, generally speaking, if you're someone who struggles with fatting their wedge shots or taking a huge divot, having a higher amount of bounce angle on the bottom of the club will allow you to get up and out the ground and hit better shots. Now, what a lot of better players want with their wedges is an option to have a very low amount of bounce. So off tight lies, they can nip the ball very cleanly and generate lots of spin. And for Callaway to add this extra option, it really does again say we want better players to use this wedge. And to be honest, their offerings on grinds this year, if you're into that kind of thing, is actually pretty varied and probably the widest it's ever been. Now, I've tested these wedges out over the past few weeks. I've been down at Woodall Spa in Lincolnshire, and now I am at the charming Bobby Jones Golf Course in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, I've tested this out of rough as well as my Vokey, and do I find more spin with the Opus? Not massively, but on some occasions, yes. It's a very hard thing to judge. But their real selling point for this wedge, what they're desperate to try and capture the attention of with the better golfer, is that lower launch, that control of spin. Now, I've got a 58-degree wedge here, and what I want to try and do is just flight it down a little bit. I don't want this ballooning up in the air. And as far as like a launch goes with a wedge, it's good. It's really good. Now, as well as the Opus, we have the Opus Platinum. Now, this version of the wedge, it uses machine injection molding, which Callaway say is new for them, and it helps create a nice dampening feel when the wedge is struck. And what Callaway have done with the Opus is they've also whacked this 17-gram tungsten weight at the top of the club. Now, this pulls the center of gravity further up. This can help improve launch, keep it low, again, you know, something they're very keen to do. But more importantly, it actually adds a level of forgiveness because it pulls the center of gravity this way. If you do strike it from higher in the face, especially out of the rough, for example, it will add a level of forgiveness and also help propel that ball towards the target. It seems that with the Platinum, what Callaway want to do is give everything that an Opus has to offer, but just add a tiny bit more forgiveness. Now, the Opus Platinum is only available in lofts of a lob wedge and a sand wedge. It's also much more expensive. What Callaway have said here is that no expense was spared in producing the Platinum, and it does show. It is more expensive, but have I really seen much of a difference between the Platinum and the standard Opus? Not really. Not really. In fact, no. So next up we have the Wilson Staff Model Wedge. Oh, spin. Now, I've been a big fan of Wilson clubs for a good number of years because they've been making quality products, but often at a cheaper price than some of their competitors, especially within the iron market. But I've actually not done a great deal of testing with their wedges. And I've had so many people reach out to me and talk about how good Wilson wedges are. When this wedge came out looking like this, I just had to try it. And I've got to be honest, I think it's absolutely fantastic. As you can tell, for me, just absolutely balling out in this blinding. I don't even think this is sand. What's really cool actually about this sand, you know, just going off on a like slight tangent here, is when you hit the, it's got like almost crystals in it. So when they fly up into the air, they sparkle. Like I feel like a unicorn. I also feel like I might be one of the best bunker players in the world, so I'm going to get out of here quick. Certainly with Wilson wedges, like previously when they're sponsored players on tour haven't used, say, their driver or their irons, the wedges have been in the bag. And firstly, as mentioned, when I first saw these wedges, I thought they were stunning. I mean, just look at them. The new logo, the way that it's been milled, everything about it just is classy. And also the construction, again, is right up there with the very best manufacturers. You got a forged carbon steel precision milled face. The 8620 carbon steel is going to provide a soft feel, maximize spin, great stopping power in all conditions out of rough, but of course they would say that. Now the ZM grooves, I have to say, in early testing, these have really been ripping the covers off the balls. Wilson have also striven to be pretty inclusive with this wedge, so with their bounce and loft options, they've got a pretty wide range. Now the price is still lower than its competitors, however it is slowly sneaking up as Wilson realise what good products they are making. tell you what, they do feel great. Now visually, when this comes behind the ball, I don't think it's quite as attractive to me as say Vokey or the Opus. The toe kind of pokes out a little bit. The center of the face seems to be ahead of the heel. Now, it's not offset, but it kind of has that little bit of a look. If you're someone who struggles losing shots off to the right-hand side, when you set up with this as a straight face, I think it would be quite appealing. But I reckon I could get used to it. And the reason for that is it does feel good. It does feel good. Come back down that slope for me. Fine, stay up there. Now, performance-wise, again, in testing, I've been pretty impressed with this. I'll actually move on around the green and show you what I've been really, really taken aback with about these wedges. But I'd say this might be the main weak point. You see, that shot that I just hit there was literally bang in the center of the club face. Now, it popped up into the air, and that is something that the Opus wedge wouldn't do. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, that's tasty. Yum, yum, yum. Somebody get me a spin sandwich. So I feel I've kind of got to be a little bit more precise with how I strike this. If it does come a little bit higher in the face, I think it might pop into the air just a little bit more. So on those longer pitch shots, as mentioned, I'm not completely convinced. I think the Opus probably feel a little bit better, but in the testing that I've done, it's not the pitch shots that have got me particularly excited about the Wilson. It's around the greens. That's where I've really felt that it has such a wide array of shots, that it's really adaptable. That kind of weird straight face, I'm not 100% sure on those pitches. Once it's opened up, once it's adapted, it just seems to make sense. It seems to work. So Wilson with this wedge, they've done it again. They've undersold what the product is, and yet it has overperformed as far as the price and expectation level, even though those expectations are rising year by year. So for a wedge which isn't as expensive as some of its competitors, I have to say, I again absolutely love Wilson. Wilson! Now finally, we come on to the JP Camber wedge. Oh. Now I have wanted some JP wedges for as long as I can remember, to be honest. They are an object of fascination, a goal to which I really did strive for when I started making YouTube videos, and that is not even a joke. Oh, please just go in. Oh, stop it. Stop it! Now for some background, I first came across JP, so that's James Patrick Harrington, many years ago when he was turning out these incredible, beautiful looking wedges from his garage. And it wasn't long after that that Titleist actually snapped him up. And they put him in a custom wedge department. Now he was there for a few years, like really doing these custom, beautiful models and doing these really exclusive, bespoke custom fits. I think for 3 wedges and a custom fit, I think it cost about $2,000 back in the day. And after a few years, JP and Titleist parted ways. Remember, Titleist are Vokey, and Vokey is such a huge success story. Reading between the lines, don't really think that they needed each other. So now JP's out on his own again, and this is one of his creations. And what a creation it is. If this goes in, we're heading to the bar. Oh, shall we just head to the bar anyway? Now, if you're wanting something that no one else has, that premium product is going to appeal to you. But with the precision that JP goes into with these wedges, you know that's what you're going to get, and it does feel around the green that it is incredibly adaptable. As far as options on bounce goes, it's actually not as inclusive as you might expect compared to the other wedges. There's these rings which go around the neck of the club. So 1 ring is low bounce, 2 rings is a higher bounce, and 3 rings is the highest bounce that you can get. Again, depending on how much of a divot that you take, depending on how confident you feel. Now this is the 2-ring 60-degree wedge, and that's more than enough for me, especially when I can hit little nippers like that. Now we're speaking about if there is a wedge which could replace my Vokeys. Might be these. They're so good, and I've definitely got an emotional attachment to them, just because it's something I've always wanted ever since I was a little boy. Now with such an aggressive profile on the sole, you would expect that these wedges are very adaptable, and it is true. You know, out of pretty much every single lie I can adapt it. If I open it up a little bit, just try and slide it underneath, it's going to pop out, and you do feel like it's going to stop very quickly. This is a wedge that you can actually be really aggressive with. A little bit like that, and even that's stopping short of the pin, wow. But hands up, it is a little bit more of an acquired taste how it sits behind the ball. It's not quite as easy to look at as, say, the Wilson when you open it up. The Opus, again, looks very adaptable. This looks adaptable, but it also looks like you would need a little bit more practice just to get used to it. But when you get the strike like that, it's unbelievable, so good. Try and play a little bit more of a floaty inside flipper. And testing with the JP camber out of the bunkers, out of the rough, and all these different lies and situations around the green and on full shots as well, it really does feel like a wedge which you would come to love. However, the Opus and the Wilson for me felt a little bit easier, a little bit quicker. What we've tried to do within this video is give you 3 very different selections. So get down into those comments below, let us know what you think, and let us know what wedges you currently have in the bag. If you need more help in selecting your future golf clubs, check out these videos here.